Benjamin is the dad of the child. So, Evelyn, you're no longer needed.
I'm sorry, Evelyn. That's how it is. Can we get a divorce? What are these people talking about? My mind went blank as my sister Emily piled on. You're an infertile loser. I got pregnant right away.
Finally, we can show Mom a grandchild.
Benjamin was chatting happily with Emily. I let my anger take over and spoke up.
I hate to say it, but that child.
I stopped mid-sentence, thinking, should I ask them now? Is that child really his? They probably wouldn't deny it. But I don't know the truth. In that case, I should choose the path that drags them into hell regardless of the truth. It would be much more satisfying to reveal the truth one step at a time after things have already gone too far. If there's a reality from which they can't escape no matter how much they regret it, then Benjamin, Emily, and even Abigail would have no choice but to fall into hell. I struggled to hold back my laughter. My name is Evelyn. I'm 27 years old, and I work as a preschool teacher at a local childcare center. Also, 3 years ago, I was lucky enough to meet and marry a wonderful man. My husband's name is Benjamin, and he works for a trading company affiliated with a large corporation. So, there's almost no worry about the company going bankrupt, and as long as he doesn't cause any major problems, he's secure. But that doesn't mean my life has been smooth sailing. I've had my share of struggles. When I was young, my sister Emily took advantage of me, and now my Abigail pushes all the household chores onto me every day. I wonder if I would become stronger if I became a mom myself. I muttered to myself as I watched the children playing at the childcare center. The reason I think like this is because having a child is a big concern for me. Of course, I'm not talking about the children at the childcare center. I'm talking about having a child with Benjamin. We got married 3 years ago. Benjamin is 3 years older than me, but we were both in our 20s. Since we were young, I thought that once we got married, we would quickly be blessed with a child. Apparently, Abigail thought the same. When we got married, Abigail said to me, "Evelyn, you're a preschool teacher, right? So you must love children?"
Yes. I became a preschool teacher because I love children.
Family meetings can be nerve-wracking. But Abigail spoke to me in a friendly manner. That made it easy for me to talk with her. However, there was one thing that bothered me.
Then, you'll have a child right away.
Yes, that would be nice.
Oh? Don't you want to have children?
Her expression changed. I hurriedly tried to smooth things over.
No, I do want children, but it's more about timing. Timing? Is that so? You just need to put in the effort.
She looked at me intently. I felt tense. What should I say in moments like this? While I was pondering, Benjamin interrupted.
Mom, you're putting pressure on her. Don't say things like that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Abigail laughed loudly. But her eyes weren't laughing. This incident made me afraid of her. But I couldn't let her know I was scared. So, in front of her, I always put on a strange, forced smile. I just have to endure while we're at the in-laws' house. Every time I went to her place, I reminded myself of this. Eventually, we set a date for our wedding. And then came the day we were deciding on our new home. Benjamin received a call from her. She wanted us to come over because she had something to discuss. It happened to be a day off, so we both visited the in-laws' house.
Benjamin, Evelyn, I've been waiting for you. Come in.
Thank you for having us. Abigail ushered us in. She guided Benjamin and me to the living room. As we entered the living room, I made eye contact with my silent Fael, Elijah. I instinctively greeted him.
Excuse me for intruding. Sorry to call you over. Abigail was insistent.
I smiled awkwardly and bowed my head. Soon, Abigail returned with coffee. She sat down across from us and declared, "Once you're married, the two of you will live with us."
Live together?
I looked at Benjamin in a panic. Benjamin seemed just as surprised. It seemed he didn't know either. I looked at Elijah.
No, I didn't want to intrude on the newlyweds, so I was against it.
What are you talking about? To have children quickly. Was she about to say, to monitor us? Abigail covered her mouth with a wry smile. But all jokes aside, living together was out of the question. If we lived together, I would have to be scared of her every day. The stress would build up, and I couldn't imagine being able to have children. I looked at Benjamin, hoping he would oppose it.
That sounds good. If we live together, we won't need to pay rent. Benjamin, are you in favor of this? What? Is there something wrong with living together? Are you afraid of getting caught because you're having an affair or something?
Benjamin and Abigail looked at me. I hurriedly denied it.
No, it's just that living together might be inconvenient.
Being a child care worker requires a lot of physical strength. Sometimes I even cut corners on housework to make time. If we lived together, I'm sure I would end up being a burden to Abigail and Elijah. I carefully explained this situation. But Abigail just frowned.
In that case, it would be even better if you lived together.
I can do the housework for you. I regretted saying anything. But it was too late. Abigail quickly persuaded Benjamin, and we ended up living together. I was sure I'd be used as a housekeeper. Once we started living together, things turned out just as I had feared. At first, Abigail helped with the housework, but gradually, tasks like laundry and cleaning became my responsibility. Before I knew it, I was doing all the housework. I tried talking to Abigail, saying I couldn't handle any more. Then, she retorted,
"What? Are you planning to do nothing as a wife? It's not that. Then at least have a child."
She glared at me sternly. I could only remain silent. In the end, I was just being used by her. My life started to resemble that of a housekeeper. Feeling that this situation was unsustainable, I sought help from Benjamin.
"Benjamin, I'd like your mom to help with the housework." "Huh? Isn't mom doing the housework now?" "She said so when we talked about living together."
She did say that. But she only said it. In reality, she left everything to me and barely did any housework.
You see her lying in front of the TV on her days off, don't you?
She needs to rest sometimes too. You can't complain about that. He didn't seem to understand at all. Even if I kept talking, it would be no use. Was there any good solution? If things continued like this, it would be just like living at my parents' home. I shuddered, remembering my past life. Right now, we were living with Elijah, Abigail, and Benjamin. Before I moved out for work, I lived with my dad and Emily. My current life was very similar to that time. I was like a substitute for my mom. In other words, taking care of Dad and Emily was my job. Laundry, cleaning, everything was my responsibility. However, on weekends, Dad would sometimes help with chores like cleaning. So, in a way, it was a bit better than now, but that's not the main issue. What truly makes me shudder with fear is how much Emily and Abigail resemble each other. In our current situation, Abigail controls everything. She has the final say in all matters. Elijah sometimes tries to stop her, but he often can't stand up to her. This was evident when he was persuaded during the discussion about living together. Essentially, in my in-laws' house, she wields overwhelming authority. Similarly, Emily held significant power in our parents' home. And she was worse than Abigail. My mom passed away when I was very young. Because of that, Emily grew up spoiled. For instance, if Dad bought me something, Emily would always say,
"Why does Evelyn always get things? It's not like I'm the only one."
I would reply,
"Liar. You got something just the other day."
She would stomp her feet. If it was at home, that was one thing. But Emily would throw tantrums in public places too. On the street, in stores, anywhere. She had to be the center of attention. Even if I received a bit of kindness, she would get angry. Maybe if Dad had disciplined her when she was younger, things might have been different. But Dad thought her behavior stemmed from missing Mom, so he gave in to her demands. This only made her more spoiled. By the time she was in middle school, she was uncontrollable. Whenever I tried to correct her, Emily would pout and say,
"What, are you jealous because you're plain and I'm beautiful? That's not it."
I would respond, "Sure, sure. It's easy to say anything, isn't it, you useless girl?" Emily would smirk at me. She was indeed pretty, had many friends, and enjoyed school life far more than I did. But being called a useless girl just because of that was infuriating. Still, if I tried to argue, Emily would always outtalk me. I just can't win verbally. Even though my grades were better, she was more articulate. She always had the last word. So, I could only endure her complaints in silence. As time went by, Emily became the queen of our household. Maybe Dad and I were also to blame for not stopping her. Emily became the queen of our home. There was only one thing I could do. As soon as I graduated from high school, I left home. If I wasn't there, she couldn't bother me. Dad supported my decision. And with his help, I started living on my own. Living alone was a comfort. No need to worry about Emily. That was the best part. After a while, I graduated from college and became a childcare worker. But then, I had to face her again. One day at work, the director of the childcare center called me. Apparently, there was a visitor. Thinking it might be a parent, I went to the reception room. And there, waiting, was Emily.
"Emily, why are you here?"
"Oh, Evelyn.
"I need a favor." "A favor? You came all the way to my workplace for that?"
I snapped at her, annoyed. Emily frowned and leaned in to whisper in my ear. "Hey, lend me some money."
"What? Why should I?"
"Are you refusing?"
"That's fine, but I can make sure you don't work here anymore."
She smirked. I was terrified. I could tolerate her doing something to me. But if she targeted the children, it would be disastrous.
"How much?"
"Let's say, $500 for now." Reluctantly, I gave her the money. She left happily with the cash. I sighed deeply as I watched her leave. After that, Emily visited my workplace numerous times, each time demanding money. I couldn't take it anymore, so I told Dad about it. From that day on, she stopped showing up. When I asked Dad about it, he said,
"I've spoiled her too much. It's time for her to start working."
He had sternly scolded her. Moreover,
"If you don't get a job, I'll kick you out of the house,"
he told her. Dad went as far as to say that. Apparently, this threat worked. Emily started a part-time job the next day. She also made new friends at work and stopped coming to me. Thus, I was finally freed from her. But it was only for a short while. Now I was being used by Abigail. I wonder if things will change if I have a child. I was thinking about that when I came home from work and heard laughter coming from the in-laws' house. I thought maybe we had guests and entered the house. Then I heard a familiar voice.
I'm working part-time at Benjamin's company now.
It was Emily's voice. I hurried to the living room.
Emily! Evelyn, welcome back.
Emily was waving and smiling. I felt a chill run down my spine.
What are you doing here?
Huh? I just came to say hi. She puffed her cheeks. That gesture irritated me, but Benjamin interrupted.
Emily is working part-time at my company now. Part-time? At a trading company?
I felt something was off. But Benjamin continued calmly.
Yeah, we're working on a new project together. So I brought her over.
Benjamin was explaining earnestly. But none of it was sinking in. Knowing Emily, she was definitely up to something. An indescribable sense of unease filled my entire body. However, her visits weren't all bad. For some reason, Abigail's mood improved. She stopped nagging me about having children every day. And when I came home, she had already taken care of the housework.
Thank you, Abigail. It's nothing. I have plenty of free time anyway.
Then why didn't you do it before? Unspoken words floated through my mind. Nevertheless, with a bit of stress relieved, I could finally take a breather. One day, when I returned home from work, Emily was at the house again.
Emily, you're here again?
Yeah, I have something to tell you, Evelyn. Emily was smiling strangely. Could it be about marriage? I wondered as I quickly changed clothes and sat in front of Emily. So, what's the news?
Actually, I'm pregnant. What? Really? Congratulations.
Emily had always been a cheater. She switched boyfriends one after another. So, I always thought there would be trouble. But now, she was smiling while delivering this news. I felt relieved and happy. But the next moment, Abigail said something unexpected. So, you're no longer needed.
What? No longer needed?
I asked, and Emily answered instead.
The baby's dad is Benjamin. So, Evelyn, you're no longer needed.
I'm sorry, Evelyn. But I need you to leave. What are they even saying? As I struggled to process this, she kept on. You infertile failure. I got pregnant right away.
Finally, Mom will have a grandchild.
They talked happily together. Fueled by anger, I opened my mouth.
Hard to say, but that child.
I stopped to think. Should I ask them now? Is the child really his? They probably won't deny it. But what's the truth? Maybe I should let them fall into their own trap first, then expose everything. Once things are beyond repair, unveiling the truth will be far more entertaining. If they face a harsh reality from which they can't escape, Benjamin, Emily, and Abigail will all be doomed. I stifled a rising laugh. Benjamin asked me, "What about the child? Do you have something to say?"
No matter what, Evelyn, you've lost. Get out.
Emily laughed. I took a deep breath and stood up. Right, if that child is truly yours, my presence is pointless. I emphasized slightly. Benjamin's face instantly showed doubt.
What's that supposed to mean? Are you doubting it?
Yes. We've been married for 3 years, and you couldn't have a child with me?
So what? The problem is you.
Benjamin raised his voice. I stayed calm and responded. Did you forget our tests? Neither of us had any issues.
It's not just